I damn near snapped the pencil in my hand when she walked into my office like she owned the place. The wood cracked between my fingers, cheap graphite waiting to splinter like my reputation was about to. Lily, my wife's best friend, standing there, fake smiling, looking like she was about to drop a bomb just for the hell of it. And she did. Loud enough for half the damn office to hear, she said, "I told Stacy everything about us, about how we've been sleeping together." The room went dead silent. The clicking of keyboards stopped mid-sentence. Coffee cups froze halfway to lips. Every fucking eye in the place turned to me like I was some kind of zoo exhibit. I felt the stares burn into my back, heard the whispers start up like a wildfire. What a scumbag. Sleeping with his wife's best friend. Trash. Jenkins from accounting didn't even try to hide his disgust, shaking his head like I just confessed to drowning kittens. Sarah from HR was already mentally drafting the sexual misconduct paperwork. The new intern, Christ, I couldn't even remember her name, looked like she was witnessing a car crash in slow motion. Thing is, it was all a damn lie. I never touched Lily. Never even thought about it. Sure, she was attractive in that high-maintenance way that screams trouble, all blonde highlights and calculated smiles that never quite reached her eyes. But I wasn't stupid enough to think with my dick and throw away 8 years of marriage. Not with Lily. Not with anyone. But standing there, the truth didn't mean a thing. I knew if I started shouting, I didn't do it. I just looked guiltier. People believe the blood, not the bleeding. They see what they want to see, what confirms their worst opinions of others. Makes them feel better about their own pathetic lives. And then, like clockwork, Stacy stormed into the office, face twisted with fake betrayal. Her performance was Oscar-worthy, I'll give her that. Eyes red and puffy, mascara perfectly smudged to show she'd been crying, but not enough to make her look ugly. She was wearing the blue dress I bought her for our anniversary, which should have been my first clue something was wrong. She'd said she hated that dress. She didn't say a word. Just walked straight up to my desk, her heels clicking against the tile floor like a countdown, and threw a drink in my face. The ice-cold liquid soaked through my shirt, tie, and pride in equal measure. Smelled like vodka cranberry. At 10 in the fucking morning. She stormed right back out. Like it was some bad soap opera scene she'd been rehearsing for weeks. My assistant, Melissa, rushed over with a handful of tissues, her face a mask of pity that made me want to puke. "Mr. Reeves, I'm so sorry, should I?" "Get out," I said, my voice low and dangerous enough to make her retreat like a scolded dog. I wiped the sticky liquid from my face, my mind racing through the surreal scene that had just played out. There was calculation here. Precision timing. This wasn't some heat-of-the-moment accusation, this was orchestrated. I didn't hesitate. I bolted after Lily, caught her arm hard enough to make her flinch as she was waiting for the elevator. Her skin was soft under my grip, but I didn't give a shit about hurting her. Not now. What the hell was that, Lily? I growled through gritted teeth, pulling her away from the elevator and into the empty conference room across the hall. She tried to jerk away, but I wasn't letting go. Not until I had answers. "Let go of me," she hissed, glancing nervously at the door like she was expecting someone to burst in and save her. No one would. Everyone was too busy gossiping about the office affair that never happened. For a second, she tried to play tough. But guilt's a slippery bitch, and it bled out of her eyes fast. Her lip trembled, and the mask cracked. Beneath all that fake confidence was just another coward. She cracked under the weight of it. "It wasn't supposed to go this far," she whispered, her voice small and pathetic in the empty room. "It was Stacy, and my brother Rob. They've been screwing around behind your back for months." The words hit me like a bucket of ice water. Rob. Robert fucking Mitchell. My colleague. My golf buddy. The guy who'd sat at our dinner table countless times, laughing at my jokes and drinking my scotch. The same guy who'd hugged me at the company Christmas party 3 weeks ago, telling me I was like a brother to him. They needed you out of the way, needed to wreck your reputation, Lily continued, tears welling in eyes that suddenly couldn't meet mine. Rob's gunning for your position at work. You know that promotion coming up? He wants it. Bad enough to fuck your wife. And Stacy. Stacy just wants the divorce payout. My blood ran cold. Betrayed by my wife. Betrayed by a man I'd treated like family. Betrayed by a woman too weak to say no to their sick little game. I laughed then. A harsh, ugly sound that made Lily flinch again. 8 years of marriage reduced to a fucking severance package. All those late nights I'd spent at the office, working myself to the bone to give Stacy the life she wanted. The house in the suburbs. The luxury SUV. The 4-star restaurants every weekend. All so she could spread her legs for the first ambitious prick who came along. Why'd you do it, Lily? I asked, my voice dangerously calm now. What did they offer you? Money? Or did Rob promise to throw some business your way once he got my job? She looked away, shame coloring her cheeks. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? I tightened my grip on her arm, not caring that I'd leave marks. Rob, he has things on me. Things I can't let get out. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Stacy knew about them too. They said it would just be a little lie, just to give Stacy leverage in the divorce. I didn't know they were going to humiliate you in front of everyone. But rage has a way of sharpening the mind. And in that moment, a plan started weaving itself together so perfectly it felt like fate. A beautiful, vicious map unfurling in my head. I tightened my grip on Lily's arm, leaned in close enough she could feel the heat coming off me. Close enough that she'd remember this moment in her nightmares. You're gonna help me fix this, I hissed. You're gonna play your part in my little show, just like you played theirs. And she nodded. Terrified. Broken. Mine to use. First move. I had Lily call Stacy and beg for forgiveness, crying about how she'd confessed everything to protect herself. Told Stacy she spilled every dirty secret, the affair with Rob, the blackmail plot, the whole ugly mess. I stood over her as she made the call, watching the sweat bead on her upper lip as she sold the performance of her life. Fear makes for fantastic motivation. Stacy. It's Lily, she stammered into the phone, her eyes locked on mine as I mouthed the words. I'm so sorry, but Daniel cornered me after you left. He went crazy, started threatening me, said he had evidence of everything. I had to tell him the truth. About you and Rob. About the plan. I could hear Stacy's shrill voice through the phone, panic making her sound like a wounded animal. Good. Let her squirm. No, he knows everything, Lily continued, tears streaming down her face now. Real ones. He made me tell him about the blackmail, about how Rob's been gunning for his job, about how you two have been seeing each other for. She paused, listening to Stacy's frantic response. I know I promised, but he was going to ruin me. What was I supposed to do? When she hung up, her hand was shaking so badly she nearly dropped the phone. She's panicking, Lily whispered. She's calling Rob right now. I smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. Perfect. Second move. I arranged a little, surprise meeting, at the office. Sent anonymous invites to a few choice people, HR, upper management, a couple of nosy coworkers who loved a good scandal. The message was simple, emergency meeting regarding recent allegations and company misconduct. Attendance mandatory. I spent the next 48 hours gathering evidence. It wasn't hard. Stacy had gotten sloppy in her affair, confident I was too busy climbing the corporate ladder to notice her falling off it and into another man's bed. Hotel receipts charged to our joint credit card. Text messages she hadn't bothered to delete from our shared iPad. Even photos, Christ, the photos, hidden in a folder labeled Workout Inspiration. The irony would have been funny if it wasn't so fucking pathetic. But Rob? Rob had been careful. Too careful. Which told me this wasn't just about getting his dick wet. This was calculated. Professional sabotage dressed up as personal betrayal. That's where Lily proved useful. Access to her brother's apartment when he was at the gym. Access to his laptop. Access to the emails where he and Stacy had plotted everything out like the amateurs they were. Screenshots of messages where Rob bragged about how he was going to take my job, my wife, and half my assets when the dust settled. Evidence of how they'd coerced Lily into playing her part, threatening to expose her gambling debts and the money she'd embezzled from their parents' retirement fund to cover them. When Stacy and Rob showed up, thinking they were walking into some damage control PR stunt, they walked right into a damn bloodbath. The conference room was packed. Jenkins from accounting. Sarah from HR. 3 members of the executive team including Marcus Henley, the CEO himself. And at the head of the table, me. Calm as a fucking executioner. The color drained from Stacy's face when she saw me. Rob tried to play it cool, but I could see the panic in his eyes. They took the only 2 empty seats left, right across from each other, right in the firing line. "Thank you all for coming," I said, standing. My voice was steady, professional. Like we were discussing quarterly reports instead of the systematic destruction of 2 human beings. "I've called this meeting to address the recent allegations made against me and to present some, concerning evidence of misconduct within our company." I clicked a button on the remote in my hand, and the first email appeared on the projector screen. From Rob to Stacy, dated 3 months ago. "Once I get Daniel's position, we won't have to hide anymore. The divorce settlement will set you up nicely, and I'll make sure he never works in this industry again." Gasps filled the room. Rob's face went from white to red in seconds. This is fabricated," he sputtered. "Daniel is clearly trying to deflect from his own." I clicked again. A photo of them together, entering the Marriott downtown. Another click. The receipt for the room, charged to our joint account. Another click. A screenshot of texts between them, explicit enough to make Sarah from HR cover her mouth in shock. "Now, let's talk about corporate espionage," I said, clicking to the next slide. "Here we have Mr. Mitchell accessing confidential client information after hours. Information he then used to undermine my relationship with Johnson and Burke, costing the company a $2.3 million contract." Marcus Henley's head snapped toward Rob so fast I thought he might get whiplash. "Is this true, Mitchell?" Rob's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. I kept going. Methodical. Relentless. Recordings. Emails. Photos. Proof so airtight it suffocated them where they stood. By the time I got to the part about how they'd blackmailed Lily into falsely accusing me of infidelity, complete with recordings of their planning sessions that Lily had made on my instruction, Stacy was openly crying, and Rob looked like he was about to vomit. In conclusion, I said, my voice never rising above a conversational tone, "I believe this constitutes grounds for immediate termination, Mr. Henley. And as for my personal situation," I looked directly at Stacy, "I've already forwarded all of this to my attorney. I expect the divorce proceedings to be expedited." The aftermath was beautiful in its devastation. Stacy lost the divorce payout before she ever got a dime. The prenup I'd insisted on had an ironclad infidelity clause. Instead of walking away with half my assets, she left with nothing but the clothes on her back and a reputation in tatters. Last I heard, she'd moved back in with her parents in Ohio. From luxury SUV to borrowing her dad's Honda Civic. From 4-star restaurants to Applebee's on special occasions. Rob lost his shot at my job, his career, and any shred of dignity he thought he had left. No severance. No references. No future in an industry where reputation is everything. He tried to spin it, tried to claim he was being set up, but the evidence was too damning. Too complete. Lily. She lost her best friend, and damn near her soul, but at least she bought herself a little mercy crawling back to the right side. I didn't expose her gambling debts or her theft. Didn't need to. The fear that I might was enough to ensure her loyalty. She'd be looking over her shoulder for the rest of her life, waiting for the other shoe to drop. And me? I didn't just survive. I burned their whole sick little world to the ground and walked away without a scratch. The company, desperate to avoid any hint of scandal, fast-tracked my promotion. Doubled my salary. Added stock options. The works. Nothing says, "Please don't sue us," quite like a corner office and a 7-figure compensation package. They thought they could stage a show. I gave them the grand finale they'd never forget. 3 months after it all went down, I ran into Lily at a coffee shop downtown. She looked like hell, thin, jumpy, dark circles under her eyes that not even expensive concealer could hide. "Daniel," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. How are you?" I took a sip of my coffee, savoring the bitter taste almost as much as the fear in her eyes. "Never better," I replied. "Sleep like a baby these days." She fidgeted with the cardboard sleeve on her cup. "I heard you got the promotion. And the new house in Westbrook. Congratulations. Funny how things work out, isn't it?" I said, my smile all teeth and no warmth. Almost like karma, but with better timing. Her eyes darted around the cafe, looking anywhere but at me. "Listen, Daniel, I've been thinking about what happened. I want you to know how sorry I cut her off with a raised hand. "Save it, Lily. You were just a pawn in their game. Then a pawn in mine. You're not important enough to hate." The words hit her like a slap. She flinched, tears welling in those big doe eyes that had once been so effective at manipulating people. "Do you ever think about them?" she asked after a moment. "Stacy and Rob?" I finished my coffee and tossed the cup in the trash. "About as often as they thought about me when they were plotting to ruin my life." I walked out without looking back. Let her marinate in her guilt and fear. Let her wonder when, not if, the other shoe would drop. Some people believe in forgiveness. In turning the other cheek. In being the bigger person. Not me. Some betrayals cut too deep. Leave wounds that don't heal clean. I didn't want closure or catharsis or any of that therapeutic bullshit. I wanted scorched earth. And I got it. They thought they could play me. Use me. Discard me when I was no longer useful. They learned the hard way, I'm not the kind of man who gets played. I'm the kind who changes the rules of the game. And I always win.